joining me. I've been wanting to do a video about Mercari for a while. Just because I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, and a lot of times people ask about Mercari, whether it's worth the work to cross-post to Mercari. They worry about the shipping because if you started out in Poshmark and Poshmark's the only thing you're used to, other things can be a little confusing. So, but let me preface this with saying I'm not an expert in Mercari. I haven't found the secret sauce to make it like regular sales. But if the question to me is, do I think it's worth the work? Then the answer is yes. So I'm just going to tell you, the basics. I'm going to tell you my experience with Mercari. So if you're a seasoned Mercari seller, there's probably not going to be anything here that you don't already know. You're not going to learn anything. And if you do know things that I don't, put them in the comments section. We all may want to learn something. So, to start with, excuse me, popcorn. I started selling on Poshmark in October 2019, and I started on Mercari soon after that. I don't know exactly when, but I do know that my first sale was on February 12th. Sorry, I'm distracted. I just saw a work email pop up. February 12th, 2020. It was a Ted Baker jumpsuit. It sold for $72. What I remember is it was a really small size, and I'd had it on Poshmark, and it wasn't getting any attention. So when it sold for $72, I was like, oh, well, this is promising. I'm going to have to keep listing on this site. At the time, I think the fees were 10%. It's gone up since because now you pay the like PayPal processing fee, which is, I don't even know, 2.9% plus something per transaction. It used to be 30 cents a transaction. I think it's gone up. So it comes to almost 14%. So still better than Poshmark. So in 2020, I made 46 sales. Considering that Mercari is more of a list it and leave it situation for me, that's okay, because other than listing it, I really don't. If you're coming from Poshmark, you know that to be successful on Poshmark, for the most part, there's a lot of work involved. Sharing, offers to likers, sharing to parties, blah, blah, blah. And I don't do much on Mercari. I'm going to skip around here, so I should have written down bullet points, but I didn't do it that way. Anyway, it's a lot less work, or at least I do a lot less work. So 46 sales in 2020. In 2021, I made 110 sales, which isn't a lot. But if my average profit on an item is $20, which is not an unreasonable average to expect. I want mine to be higher than that, but just for argument's sake, $20, that's over $2,000 for the year. And as a part-time reseller, that's nothing to turn my nose up at. Speaking of my nose, I need a Kleenex. Okay. This year, and I'm recording this at the beginning of December, and when I last checked, which was sometime in November, late November, I think, I had already beaten the 110 sales, not by a landslide, and I've made more sales since I checked that out. And I have made one change, I've added something to my Mercari strategy, which I will get into later, that I think is helping. So it's worth it to me because the question, is it a lot of work? So if you use something like List Perfectly or Vendoo, I've never used those, but as I understand it, you can create the listing in their platform and then it sends it to the various Poshmark, Mercari, wherever you sell it. So as far as I know, there is no extra work. I don't use those. So what I do is when I'm listing on Poshmark, I just copy and paste and do Mercari at the same time. So maybe it takes me 30 seconds to a minute more. There's a few different fields you have to fill out, but basically I've got the pictures. I copy the title, I put in the title, I copy the description. It's the same, so it doesn't take much time. If I find an item on Poshmark that for whatever reason I hadn't put on Mercari, I do have a free cross-listing program that I use. That's not what this video is about, so I'm not going to go into what I use, but it's free and I use it to cross-list because some of my older items, because I do have some items that have been there for a while. Before Mercari made a deal with FedEx, I tended to only list things that weighed a pound or less, or maybe I just forgot. But if I find an item and it's not on there, then I'll use a cross-list program, mainly just to transfer over the pictures, because I can still copy and paste the description, but I don't save photos. Once I've listed the item, I clear out the photos. I don't like a messy phone. Maybe that's because I have such a messy house that I need some organization and neatness somewhere, and it's on my phone. So no, it isn't a lot of work. Now, as far as having things to do, like sharing offers to likers, etc., you don't share on Mercari. There are two options. There is offer to likers and there is promote. But like offers to likers works a little differently than on Poshmark, and quite frankly, it's silly if you ask me. So I rarely use either of those. If I do send an offer to liker, I only do it when I have at least 5 likers. And then to promote, you can only do 10 a day. So let's start with offers to likers. How does it work? Why is it different than Poshmark? Why do I think it's silly? Okay, say it's a $50 item. I have 5 likers and I send an offer of say $45. And then 10 minutes later, 2 more people like it. I want to send them an offer. I now have to send an offer that's less than the $45. I can't remember. I thought I wrote down the percentage that it needs to be. I think it needs to be at least 5%. I know I had notes on this. At least 5% lower than the last offer. Well, that doesn't make sense. It's different people. I understand that I can't send the same offer to people who have already gotten an offer, but why can't I send the same offer to people who haven't? You can't do it. It doesn't allow it. So that's a pain. I don't like that. Promoting your item, this is how it works. You lower the price by, one of them's 5%, one of them's 10%. I can't remember. I think it has to be by at least 10%, and it bumps up the item, it boosts the item in the feed or something like that. And it I don't know if it sends it to all the people that have seen it. It sends out something to people that says, you just put this item, you just lowered the price on this item by whatever. And you can do that 10 items a day. So I don't really like that because I don't want to lower the cost of the item, but that's, a way to promote your item. So this is what I do. This is what I started doing. And I do use another free program for this. Again, if you have questions about what programs I used, you can reach out to me. My information's below. DM me on Instagram or just put it in the comment section. But the thing that I added a couple months ago that I think is making a big difference is I'm using a program to delist and relist my items. So every day I go in, I sort my items by oldest first, and I delist and I relist. And I do a lot of them. No specific amount. It depends on my day. If I'm home all day in front of the computer, I'll start doing it in the morning, and I do it periodically through the day, and it could be 20, 25 items, could be more, could be less. So like sometimes in the evening, I will promote my 10 oldest items because I know starting the next day, I'm going to be relisting them, and then I relist them at the regular price. So it gives people like a night to respond. I've never made a sale using promote, so I don't think it's that helpful. But I figure, might as well send it out there because I'm going to be relisting it anyway, and then I can put the price back to where it was. So I read somewhere that somebody said you shouldn't have an item on Mercari for more than 30 days before you relist it because you don't have the option of sharing. The thing is, there's all that work you can do on Poshmark, and it's true, everybody could do it. So you'd say, well, we're all on an even playing field, but we're not because not everybody is doing it. So If you do it, it gives you a leg up on many people who don't do any of that, who just list an item and don't even list well. You know, that's the other thing. They have bad titles. They have bad descriptions. They don't repeat the title. They don't have good pictures. They don't use keywords, you know, so you have an advantage over those people. On Mercari, you don't have that advantage other than if your listings are good versus other people's that are bad. You can't share to boosters, but you can relist, delist, and relist. And then it's not a program that Mercari offers. It's an outside program. So, and I use it on Poshmark as well. So to Poshmark and to Mercari, it's a brand new listing. And I think that helps sales. I think it helps sales on both of them. And that's a time when I'll also look and see whether I do want to adjust the price. Maybe the reason it's been sitting is because I priced a little too high. Who knows? So that's, I mean, pretty much it. There is okay, we'll talk about shipping. And but one other thing. When you make your listing, there's something called smart pricing. I don't recommend it. Basically what it does is it lowers the price automatically, which, you know, might sound okay. Like if it's been sitting for a long time, maybe it should lower the price, but it does it so fast. Like I swear it's not even a day and it's lowered the price. And within 2 or 3 days, it says, you know, it's hit the lowest because it does it more than once. I don't even know exactly what its schedule is, but it's crazy. I've never heard anybody say, oh yes, smart pricing is a good thing. It's not. Too fast. Okay, shipping. They have a lot of options now. So be careful because the default used to be that the buyer pays shipping and they quietly switched the default to the seller pays shipping and they didn't tell anybody. Like they just figured, well, maybe they won't notice, and they didn't. I found out because somebody told me, and I went back and like, sure enough. And then they also changed the default to UPS. So check your shipping carefully, your shipping choices before you hit list. So anything £1 or lower, I do USPS, and that's actually cheaper than Poshmark. They have a rate for, I think they have a rate for under 4 ounces, under 8 ounces, and then £1. Then I choose FedEx because FedEx is $7.99 for up to 3 pounds, and it's $10.95 for up to 5 pounds. So it's not hugely different than Poshmark. And when you print the label, it will tell you, don't give this to the post office. You got to bring it to FedEx, or you bring it to like a FedEx agent, which is Walgreens here, many Walgreens. And I do have a Walgreens really near me. So it's not really inconvenient. I pass by it almost every day, and sometimes I just walk there. But I will tell you that I have given it to the not to the post office. I've given it to my mailman because I asked him, I'm like, hey, can you take this? And he says, as long as it has a USPS barcode that he can scan, he can take it. So I tried it because there was a day that I just was like, I don't want to leave the house, but I want to get it out now. And I've done it several times, and it doesn't seem to take any longer. In fact, if I go to Walgreens, they tell me the ground shipping person comes every day in the morning, like around 11. So if I don't get there till the afternoon, it's not going out until the next day anyway from Walgreens. So if I give it to the postman, you know, probably FedEx is going to get it around the same time. And I've done it a number of times. I've never had a problem. But that's up to you if you want to do that. It does say not to do that. Actually, one time there was a FedEx truck in front of my house delivering to another house, and I went over and asked if he could take it, and he said no. Then I had FedEx deliver something to my house, and I opened the door. I'm like, hey, can you take this? He said, sure, as long as it has a barcode that I can scan. So they actually can take it. So that's shipping. I think that's it. Oh, here's another thing. Like on Poshmark, you know, everybody worries about how many followers they have, following other people. Poshmark encourages it. Whether it really helps your sales greatly to follow more people or to have more followers, I don't know. I don't know. I don't focus on it that much. So tell me, seasoned Poshmark sellers, should I? Because right now I have about, actually I'm not sure. I'll mark it, but I think it was like 38,000 people following me. 18,000? I don't know, but I have way less that I'm following because I just don't worry about that. I don't automatically follow everybody that follows me. I used to. I just follow periodically when I want to. So, I don't know. Should I be focusing more on that? Anyway, that's not what this point is. The point is on Mercari. I was curious because I looked at my stats and I'm following, I think, 6 people, and I have less than 200 people following me. So I went into the Facebook group Mercari for Sellers Only, and I searched for a post about whether followers is important, and I found one, and everybody said no. In fact, one person said, I don't make any more sales now that I have 1,000 followers than when I had 0 followers. And the only reason I even have that many followers, and here's another Poshmark difference. When you sell something to somebody, just like Poshmark, they can rate you, or it auto rates, or just it will say transaction complete or something like that after 3 or 4 days. If they rate you, then you get a message saying rate your buyer. And you rate the buyer before you can see how they rated you, so you can't do retaliatory rating. But if somebody rates you 5 stars, then the Mercari system automatically makes them one of your followers. So if you see rate your buyer, so-and-so rated you, rate your buyer to get your payment or whatever, and then immediately after that you see a notification that says so-and-so is following you, it's probably the same person, and that means they gave you a 5-star rating. If it doesn't say that, it could be because they didn't give you a 5-star rating or because somehow they're already a follower. I don't look because, and I should, I guess, because if I get a bad rating, and I've done this on Poshmark where there's been an issue, and so then I message them and say, oh, I'm really sorry I missed that, or whatever, if I have something. But for the most part, bad ratings are kind of a bummer, and I really just I know I'm not in it for the ratings, but it's still I don't even want to see it because it might just bring me down a little bit, and I don't need it. I got the money. That's what matters. So anyway, that's how you end up with followers. And nobody thinks that followers is important, and so that's kind of cool. I like that. So I think that's it. Moral of the story, yeah, for me, it's definitely worth it. So if you have questions, go ahead and you can send them to me. You can put them in the comment section. If I don't know, I'd be happy to help you find out. Maybe somebody else who watches this will know. But I think it's worth having a second one. I think the amount of sales I make is worth it. And that's all I have to say about that. I hope this was informative to somebody. And I'll see you on my next video.